Stu here from Taunton Leisure, and today I'm going to talk to you about Leki walking poles, how to use them and a quick look at our range. Here at Taunton Leisure we keep a really good wide range of Leki poles. Leki are at the kind of forefront of pole manufacturing. They make trekking poles, Nordic walking poles, ski poles, all kinds of poles, everything. Here in my hand I've got the Leki Legacy. It's kind of a mid-range pole from Leki. We carry poles kind of from 50-ish pounds a pair right up to 200 pounds a pair, and it's a case of what suits your needs, whether you want something super strong, super light, something just to see if you like using poles. There's lots of choice available, so have a look at our website or go into store. First thing I'm going to show you with this one, the Leki Legacy, is how to adjust it to the right height for yourself. There's a couple of different ways of adjusting the pole length. These ones have the external clip system. So there's a couple of clips on the outside and you can adjust its length. Leki on their poles print a number on both sections. This number is in centimetres, and when those two numbers match, that's the total length of the pole. So 110 centimetres is the right height for me, so I put to 110 on both of those, do those up, and now it's nice and secure. When I say the right height for me, what I mean is when my arm is at a right angle, the pole touches the ground. So you can see that nice shape there. If the pole was too short, it'd be down there somewhere. And if it's too long, up there. So the reason we want it at that 110 centimetres for myself is when you're walking with the pole, putting force through it, this isn't a very comfortable height or very good height for using the pole as part of the posture when you're coming downhill, but we'll go into that a little bit later. Right, we're getting somewhere. Next up is the wrist strap, this part here. Now, some people walk without the wrist strap at all, or put the hand up through the wrist strap this way, put the hand down through the wrist strap this way. And it's not really clear anywhere how you're supposed to use the strap on a pole. So that's what I'm going to tell you how to do now. So what you do is you put your hand up through the strap and grab hold. This way, when your hand is resting on the pole, the weight of your arm and your wrist is taken through that strap, so you haven't got to grip tightly to the pole. If you're gripping tight to the pole all day, your hands soon get pretty tired. So we'll do the same with this one. There we go. The other nice thing about this is if you trip or the pole comes out your hand, you've got your hands free. If you do it the other way around, your hand can get trapped and you kind of are locked up in the pole a little bit. So we do it that way. The hand's now caught up in the pole a bit more. Right, bear in mind after you've set up the length of your pole is to adjust the strap to make sure it fits you. To do this on a Leki pole, you pull this up with your hand in and you pull this tab and that pulls your hand closer. What you're looking for is the strap to be kind of reasonably close fitting when your hand's in that position towards the top of the pole. So if it was too long, my hand would be down here, and then when I'm grabbing the pole, the strap's not doing anything. Or if it's too tight, you'll feel it too tight around your wrist. So we'll get that done right again. So lift that up, pull it into it's nice and tight, and then pull that back down again, and now we're locked. So walking with the poles. Sometimes people like to walk with the poles out in front of them, like this. Now the problem with that is all you're doing is slowing yourself down. What you want to aim for is the pole to be kind of in line with the kind of middle of your foot towards the back of your foot as you're walking, so you're going to kind of push yourself along. Also, you don't want the pole to be too far behind you because it's not going to be that much security. Poles are designed to give you more security on kind of rough ground, so you've got more points of contact, so you're less likely to fall over. They also take a lot of the weight as you're walking. So suddenly, you know, the weight of your arms is now taken by the poles, and a lot of your upper body weight is taken through the poles. So they allow you to kind of travel longer distances without getting so tired, because you're not carrying as much weight on your legs. They also help to increase your stride length, so you walk a little bit further, and give you a better position. You stand up straighter with your chest more open to allow you to kind of breathe in more oxygen. So what we'll do next is we'll just have a little demo of me walking along with the poles, and you can have a look and see what it looks like. Right, we're now just about ready to go walking. Last thing you want to do is take off the protective cap that comes on them. So this little plastic cap pulls off, and then you've got your carbide tip, which is going to dig in and give you some grip. You can also get rubber pavement grippers, which are good for using on hard ground. So if you're spending a lot of time walking on paths or pavements, then you might want the rubber tip to stop it clacking. But we're here on the open moor, so we're going to use the carbide tips. Okie dokie, so let's go. So we're going to place our poles about in line with the middle of our foot, and we're going to head off. We're going to go the opposite pole to the opposite foot as we walk. So that's kind of what you're looking for, the pole just behind you, pushing you along with your arms as you go. Now you might be thinking, Stu, it's all well and good to show me how to use poles on flat terrain, but what about when I'm on something steep and I need to come downhill and I've got these annoying poles in my hands? Well, actually, this is where they really come into their own. Coming down steep terrain, they're going to take loads of pressure off your knees and hips, and they're going to make you much more secure to go down something steep, like this for example. What I'm first going to do is put my hands over the top of the poles, so I'm going to grab the tops like this, and now I can put the poles out in front of me and test the ground as I'm going down and make sure I've got some good purchase. So you can really get a good grip with that carbide tip on some rock like this. It doesn't just skid off like you think it might. So we've got a pretty steep path here, so we're going to come down. And then we can transition back to walking with them normally and we're off. But what about going uphill? Well, for this hill, it's not very high or very long, so I keep them as they are, and you're going to place the pole out further in front of you and you're going to pull yourself up using the pole. So as you see, the pole's quite high in front of me, not like we were before, not my foot is quite far in front of me, and I'm pushing up with my legs and my arms at the same time, helping me propel myself up the hill. As I come back down again, hands stuck over the top, nice and secure. So if it's a really long hill, what you might want to do is make your poles a little bit shorter, so when you're on something steep for a longer period of time, you haven't got to reach up so high. So now the pole is at a slightly better height for my arms. This is more comfortable and I can still push myself up with it. This one's quite comfy, that is quite high up, which is fine for something short like this hill, like a quick, you know, couple of minute climb. But if it's for a long time up a mountain, you might, with a quite steep, you know, steep incline, you might want to make your pole a bit shorter. And that's the same for going downhill. If you're going downhill for a long time, you might want to make your pole a little bit longer. So it gives you a bit more purchase as you're coming down. So you've got more pole, you're not leaning forwards as much. If I've got the shorter pole, I'm leaning forwards quite a lot. With a longer pole, I'm not leaning forwards as much, so I'm in a better position. My centre of gravity is, you know, further back, I'm not leaning over. It comes into its own when you've got heavy pack on. So that's kind of using your poles, how to use them. What I've got here is our top of the range Macro FX carbon pole from Leki, which is a folding pole made completely out of carbon fibre, but the main difference, or one of the big differences with this, is the grip on it. This has got their air-gone handle, which you'll find in their kind of higher end poles. Compared to this handle, it's got a more ergonomic shape, so it's more comfortable to hold for longer periods. It's also got a long foam down to the bottom here and a much more contoured rounded top. What this means is when you're in the more mountainous terrain and you're going up and down the hills, you can quite quickly drop your grip down to this part and still have something comfortable to hold on to, unlike this, which is just bare metal. And then conversely, when you're coming downhill, this is a much more comfortable handle to hold on to the top. So when you're coming down, this is more comfy in the hand than the kind of standard Leki grip is. So if you're looking for a set of poles that's going to be really comfy to use all day and in more mountainous terrain, then I'd probably have a look at something with this air-gone grip on it. Comes in a couple of versions. They do an airgun cork grip, an airgun foam grip, and they do the airgun grip just a handhold part, and then they do the extended bit for kind of more mountainous use. Okay, so what I've got here is a pair of Nordic walking poles as opposed to trekking poles. These, as you can see, have quite a different handle design. They have no grip on the top. You've got like this clip part here which we'll go into, and they're a lot kind of longer. They look longer, they're the same length, but they look longer. They work a little bit differently, so you can't really use these in steep terrain like you can a trekking pole. They're more designed for longer kind of undulating, flatter style terrain, especially on kind of long distance paths and trails. So these ones come with the shark grip, which is this part here. My hand's kind of in this glove already, which we can push that red button and take it out. So you can leave this glove on as much as you like when you're not handling the poles. You can put the poles down for, you know, get a water bottle out and drink it. But what this does when you're clipped in is you're really connected to the pole now without having to grip hold of it tightly. So I can put a lot of power through the pole, through my wrist, rather than gripping onto the pole really tight. So you're again loosely gripping onto the pole, and much like the leash in the trekking poles, this takes a lot of the strain for you. Using these, you're going to place them a little bit further behind you. So these come a little bit further behind, and you kind of propel yourself forward as you walk, letting go of the pole. So you push backwards on the pole to power yourself forwards, and then you let go with your hand and you pull it forwards. So that's what we're going to do with these. It takes a little while to get used to, but this is a great full body workout because you're pushing yourself along much like a cross trainer in the gym, but we're outdoors with that amazing view. So you can push yourself along, get a full body workout. It keeps your chest up and open and your back pretty straight. So I'm going to go for a walk. So as you can see, the pole's pretty far back. I've got the rubber grips on at the moment. For ground like this, you would probably want to have the carbide tip instead. It's going to give you a bit more purchase. As we go uphill, I'm going to slow down, but I can still kind of push forwards. So Nordic walking is really popular at the moment. There's quite a few clubs, and we'll put some links to some of those local ones to us in the description below. Okay, so these ones are the Trail FX Superlite poles. These are like a cross pole between trekking, trail walking, trail running, Nordic walking. They do it all. These are collapsible carbon fibre poles rather than aluminium, so these are up there on the price. They're the most expensive poles that we currently sell, but it supports everything. So if you want a pole that you can do Nordic walking with and trail running and some trekking, this pole will do that for you. The handle on this is similar to the Nordic walking pole, but there's a bit more meat to it, so you can have a bit more of a grip on it, and it drops down lower. So as we discussed earlier, if you're going up some steeper terrain, you can grip lower down the pole on this one. It's got a similar kind of Leki glove on this one, but it is more aerated. It's a kind of nicer version. It's got a foam padding with lots of mesh on there, so it's going to breathe nicely. You're not going to get too much sweat in there. Or you are going to sweat, but it's going to breathe better. So we can clip that one in, and you get a nice meaty grip, and you can still come down the hills and put that pole in front of you and use the glove to take some of that load as you're coming downhill, and then propel yourself along as you would a Nordic walking pole, or walk with it a little bit closer like you might do a traditional pole. These poles are great. I really rate them, so much so that I've got a pair myself, so they must be good, right? Nice and lightweight, but the fact that they are like a hybrid of a trail running pole, Nordic walking pole and a trekking pole is great. It's kind of got the best of all of them. Although some people might say it's like master of none, it's good enough at all those things for most people. If you are going long distance trekking with a really heavy pack, this pole might be a little bit too light for you. It's not the most robust or strong pole when you compare it to some of the other poles like the Sherpa FX we looked at earlier, which is a bit stronger, heavier duty, but it weighs more. So this pole, yeah, we can use the same way. We're going to kind of power our way off, and I'm going to just leave Sam in the dust now as I zoom up this hill really fast, and I can even go running in them, see? So there's plenty of other things you can use poles for, not just walking with, trekking, running. They make that much easier, taking all the weight off your hips and knees and legs. They can also be used for pitching tarps, pitching tent doors, using in emergency situations, river crossings, all those types of things. So check out some of our future videos where we'll show you how to use them.